Game of Thrones Season 8. Wasn't going to do a review originally. I haven't reviewed any previous seasons of Game of Thrones, not even on my blog, but I figured I'd just get my thoughts out there, even though pretty much everyone and their mother has pretty much done it already, except for my mom, because she's not really online. But I do not have a non-spoiler review or any other kind of review anywhere else. There's other reviews of other stuff you can look at on my blog, soundedbettermyhead.com. I got my comic strip on there. You can check those out, just because. But like I said, this is going to be all spoilers. It's going to be kind of brief, so I'm just going to zip through more or less episode by episode. So, starts off okay, first episode. It's about what you expect for a season premiere, just basically getting all the characters where they need to be. You know, really nothing spectacular about it. The second episode is probably the best episode of the entire season. Just, you got almost all your favorite characters all in one spot, and there was this fantastic dialogue, great interactions between all these guys. You know, some really emotional scenes, the knighting of Brienne of Tarth, and just, like I said, it was just probably the best episode easily this season. We move on to, and the small nitpick, we basically had 2 episodes moving us in position for the big battle against the Night King, which we finally get in episode 3. We have the big battle. I know everyone complained about the lighting, and I definitely have to agree it was an issue. You know, I was literally on the edge of my seat for 2 reasons. Number 1, it was tense, and number 2, I just couldn't see what was happening. Especially in the opening sequence where the Dothraki were completely wiped out, supposedly completely wiped out by the undead. As the undead waves and all these hordes of evil undead warriors are coming across our heroes, you kind of can't see what's happening, and you're starting to assume that they got wiped out, just like that. And about halfway through, you kind of realize if a major character is going to die, they're going to show you it blatantly. It's not going to just be they got overwhelmed and they were dead. Obviously, you don't want a lot of your favorite characters to die, but it's kind of disappointing that really nobody died, especially they'd be completely surrounded and overwhelmed. There's no way that they're going to survive, but since they're a main character, they kind of magically did. Absolutely loved Arya taking out the Night King. It was one of the best scenes in the series. Just, you're so worried because you catch her, you think she might be killed, and then they managed to take him out. And I said, a lot of people bitched that he was taken out so easily, but I think it worked. This is their goal. They knew they had to stop him. They knew that a weapon like that would take him out, and it was just a slaughter beforehand to get to him. I guess the other side of it is that no major characters died. Very few major characters died trying to take him down. Episode 4. Another table setting episode. We're recovering from the carnage and moving towards the next phase, which appears to be the depleted Northern and Dany's armies taking on the Golden Company and Cersei's armies, which brings some more tension back because it looked like previously Dany and all her dragons could have mopped the floor with them, and now it looks like it's a pretty even fight. So there's a lot of tension getting ready, knowing this fight's going to come up. They were pretty heavily telegraphing the Dany heel turn, which I was hoping meant that it wasn't going to happen because they were making it so obvious, which basically takes us to episode 5, where Dany, for realistically no good reason, just goes ballistic and just murders every man, woman, and child in King's Landing. And I say it's completely out of character. I know people say, oh, the Mad King, and there's all these other evil things that she's done, but even Tyrion, when Tyrion points out in the episode after this, it's basically, yes, did she have some ruthless tactics? Absolutely. Were they people that deserved it? For the most part, but at the end, she was still a good person. And this is why the season all just kind of ruined the show for me in an extent, because Dany turned in like the best characters. She had nothing. She was just basically a bridal gift to help her brother get power, and she's beginning to grow, and she looked out for the little man. She really wanted to be like a great leader. I mean, previously, when her dragons, which are her kids in her mind, they're literally her children, when they ate some farmer's little girl when she was in Easteros, as heartbreaking it was for her, for the benefit of these people that she barely knew, she locked her dragons in, underground and wouldn't let them out. And that's the Dany that I respected and wanted to see, hopefully get on the Iron Throne, or if not, it's because she had to sacrifice herself, not because she went crazy. Even Grey Worm, yes, I know his girlfriend was killed by the Lannisters, basically, but for him to become so bloodthirsty and become, like I said, just a flat-out heel as well, it was almost like a wrestling thing where the guy's such a good guy and all of a sudden he turns on someone and he's just evil and mean the rest of the time. That's kind of how ruthless his turn became. And it's not like Dany was there in his ear, like, yeah, do it. He just like, oh, she's killing everybody, so I should kill everybody. That's really about it. I'll take to the final episode, which was just underwhelming on so many levels. You start thinking like, how Dany needs to be taken down. How are these people going to do it when she's got a dragon and an army? And then pretty early in the episode, Jon just kind of walks up, doesn't like what she's got to say, and stabs her. And just the really bizarre scene of the dragon sees Jon Snow over his mother's body and decides it's best to melt the Iron Throne. Like somehow he knew that the Iron Throne was symbolic of something. I don't know. It was kind of corny. I don't think it really worked at all the way they intended it to. It wasn't bad. I understand kind of what they're doing, but I can't imagine the dragon really knew the significance of that throne. And then the whole weird thing that he basically flies off with his mother's body, and then Jon gets imprisoned by this evil Grey Worm that you would think would have just gutted him like a fish as soon as he found out he killed Dany. It was just kind of weird. I don't know what happened off screen to explain what happened. And then we get this really kind of goofy thing of Bran becoming the new king. And I understand the logic to why they think he'd be a good king, but his journey is another one you just lost so much interest in. He was interesting. You're trying to find out this mystery about the Ravens. He gets these cool powers, and then he just becomes so disassociated with reality and the other characters. You just don't really care about him anymore. And even when he's king, it's like, well, who cares? You do get a sort of happy ending that the characters that did survive all continue on and they're working to make everything a better place, but doing it on a Bran who was just like, kind of becomes, I don't want to say unlikable, you just don't care about him. It's just, I don't know, it's just anticlimactic. Presumably this is what the books were going to lead to, because he filled him in on everything that was supposed to happen. He must have, assuming he left off some critical details how to get to this point, because the show kind of did it pretty bad and pretty rushed. The ending, it was great to see all the Starks survive, but basically Jon starts off the show by getting sent off to the north, basically as a banishment for no good reason, and the show ends with him basically being banished, although this time he has a new family to kind of live with. Arya became one of the best characters on the show. Instead of her staying with the people she loves, she decides to just go off some random spot and just check out, whatever's out there. Really, in the end, the best, most fulfilling story arc is Sansa's, and she never got. They never did anything to get audiences invested in her as they could have to make that payoff like as good as it could have been. I mean, she basically started off as she was kind of a ditzy, kind of a teenager in a way, and as time, a lot of bad shit happened to her. She got hardened and eventually became like a great ruler, and it was fantastic to see her become queen in the north. But she was kind of such a lost in the shuffle over the Tyrions and the Dannys and the Jon Snows and even the Aryas that her story just wasn't as impactful as it should have been. In the end, I mean, her becoming the queen could have been like the biggest payoff of any character arc. It was played right, and it's kind of like, oh, good for her. I really don't got a ton else to say. I just wanted to kind of get some thoughts out there, just because. Just why not join the chorus of people chiming in on the season. A lot of people absolutely hated it, and I understand why. I think they just missed the mark. I don't think it was terrible. I just think that the season, if I had to give it a grade out of 5, I'd go with a 2, just off the top of my head. I think this is a fairly solid grade. It's just so underwhelming, despite the couple really good episodes in the mix. That's really all I got. That's all I got. So thanks for watching.